a grandmother, and a wife, and a mom. God, that cousin. She was a lot of things, actually. She had a lot of names as well. Over the past few weeks, we've been just so overwhelmed by just the outpouring of support through cards, flowers, phone calls, messages, electronic, paper, and just so many messages of compassion and love and remembrance. It really shows how many people that Mom touched. Many of you have come a really long distance to be here today, and we just appreciate that so much. People that are close, people that are far, to be here, remember Mom. Today we're going to have a couple of speakers come up and share some memories and some times with Sue that they had. Many of you have great memories of my mom, but I feel like there's one common bond that puts all of these stories together, and I think that common thread is fun. Fun. Susan believed in being the life of the party. If that was on a dock with just a couple of friends, at a family reunion, at a wedding, or even at a funeral. In fact, I think Mom used to always joke that she wanted to put the fun in the funeral, and I think this one counts as well. So please think of that today. She always kept it light. She always kept everything light. She was so much fun. She was the light of the room a lot of times. And if that was at a party, at a game, she wanted to make themes and costumes and just have everyone participate in the fun. I don't think Mom really had a life slogan or a life motto, but if she did, I think she would have taken her Uncle Martin's life motto. She said it best, or she said that Uncle Martin said it best by, you can't beat fun. You can't beat fun is how she approached and how she did all of the things in her life. And, the thing about fun is it's contagious. When you're with someone like Mom or like Sue, and you're at a party, how can you not have fun? With so many stories and so many fun games and just so many things that she did. And that was her whole approach to life. That's how she raised me. People had fun when Sue was around. And I really like to think that's what's her lasting legacy to me and what she passed on to me is we all love to have fun. And so actually I want you to take a moment now to either close your eyes, look up, look at the person next to you, maybe look at another loved one, and think of a time that you had a ton of fun with Sue. I'll give you just a moment for that. Might be some smiles, might be some chuckles. And to me, that's her legacy. While our time here is short, why not have fun? Why not enjoy the time that you have with others? Because what else is there? Just have fun. Can't be fun. We're going to have a few other speakers come up, talk about some memories of Mom, talk about some fun times, talk about some good times. But first of all, I'd like to introduce Katie.
I'm not used to holding a microphone. I am Katie, Sue's daughter. Thanks, Kevin. My mom is my best friend. I could confide in her and talk to her about anything. She and I had an almost telepathic communication, as anyone who's ever played charades or Pictionary with us knows. We would always finish each other's sentences, or even not say anything at all, and we knew exactly what the other was thinking. I can't even put into words the relationship that my mom and I had. My mom has done many great things in her life. She's lived a life much bigger than many people could even dream about. One day, as my dad was going through some papers on his desk, he found a list of the most amazing things that she felt she accomplished in this life. 20 things is not very long, but she did a pretty good job of summarizing that. She gave birth to 2 beautiful babies. She visited the Sistine Chapel, visited the Louvre Museum. In her family research, she found and visited Lockenhaus, Austria. She walked over the Golden Gate Bridge. She walked the streets of Pompeii and Herculaneum. She visited the church in Trier, Germany, where her great-grandmother worked before emigrating to the United States. She slept in Lockenhaus Castle in her ancestral home. She rode in the Goodyear blimp over the Florida coastal waterways while I was taking my SATs, by the way. She had lunch with her family on a glacier. She snorkeled in the Mediterranean Sea off of the Isle of Capri. She rode a seaplane in the Ozarks. She saved me from choking, and she didn't have a car, and 911 had not existed. Oh my God. She ziplined in Tennessee. She had 3 wonderful grandchildren, Bo, Ryer, and Avery. She played golf in Ireland. She smoked pot in Jamaica. She saw the graves of Isadora Duncan and Jim Morrison in Paris. She boated around Venice. And number 20, she was married to Charles Michael Dunn for over 40 years. And while I know this is a time for sadness and for grief, for us to reflect on all the wonderful times, and for all that she had to offer each and every one of us, we need to be happy. Feel fortunate and appreciate every moment that we have with her. I know we all feel lucky for having had her a part of our lives. Her life was beautiful. And in the words of the great Dr. Seuss, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. The day after Mom passed away, we had a small private viewing with a few very, very close friends from Tennessee. And well, Mom's always felt a connection with the Native American people of the United States, with a deep interest in their philosophies and culture and spirituality. One of Mom's very closest friends is Dee Wagner in Brentwood, down in Tennessee. And Dee is a Native American, and one of her family's customs is to leave an eagle feather with a loved one who's passed. Native Americans believe that eagles have a special connection with the heavens because they fly so close. Dee joined us at that private viewing, and she gave Susan one of the eagle feathers, which Dee gently placed in her hands. This was an extraordinary and thoughtful gift, and we know Mom is smiling down on us with this beautiful trip. Let's take a moment to listen to a song that was one of her favorites that seems appropriate at this time.
Well, this is the way it should be. So, man, family were all on my way. July the 15th, 2015. This is the way it should be. That Swimming Lake is all up there. But there's one thing I do know about my beloved niece. Had a relationship with her. Just 2 months difference between my wife Deanna's age and Sue's. We're very closest to share in many respects. And as Sue would say today, if she were here, Uncle John, remember this, life is for the living. Life is not for the dead. I'm not to be mourned, not to be celebrated. You might call me on the 22nd. My first thought was, of a conversation that Sue and I had shortly after Thanksgiving one afternoon. Gager gone to the store. I thought, well, I'll call down and Michael answer the phone and I'll talk to him. Well, lo and behold, she answered the phone. Mike had gone shopping. We had an hour to an hour and a half of one of the greatest conversations I've had with Sue in my lifetime. We talked about life, we talked about the end of life, openly and freely. Of course, like everybody else, January the 22nd was always a shock, always will be a shock. But I thought I'll mourn her in the morning, but that's as far as it'll go. I'll celebrate her the rest of the day from that time on. But I want to just share with those of you who may or may not have been caregivers in your lifetime. I married one that for 2 years has given me 24/7, with the exception of my family who come and do take over periodically to give her at least a break, which, believe me, anybody who lives with John Tapscott needs money when he's well, let alone if he's sick. But Michael, then, I want to tell you, you emulate your father, who cared for my sister, and that's what you're doing. Mike, you were her lover, your husband, father of her children, grandfather of her grandchildren, and you were her lover at the end of her life. So that's a complete life. Complete life. I can only say to those children, to Katie, Kevin, Jen, I know how you've all been there. Reached out, been there when she needed to. Came, went to Tennessee when she needed to. And you go when she needed to. You knew when to go and you knew when to come back. Katie with her great boys, Brian and Bo, Kevin and Jen with Avery. As I've often said, my grandchildren and all grandchildren, first of all, the children are the pot, the rainbows of life, and the grandchildren are the pot of gold at the other end of that. And that was their grandchildren. And I want to thank you, children, all of you, for what you did. Katie, for what you put out in your life. What Kevin has done, always on the call for. What Jen, with her wonderful ability as a social worker, both physically and emotionally, and a great cookie baker. Wonderful. She's called me many times. Oh, Uncle John, I wish I had some cookies to share with you. To her sister-in-laws, her brother-in-laws, all of their kids, to her aunts, to her cousins, to her brother Greg and his wife Nancy, who've always been a stalwart in her life. I thank you on behalf of her because I know that she would want to talk about those who are living. Sue was raised in the same religious atmosphere that I was, that we always believed the celebrant was the one who was the guy who sat at the altar who started the celebration. Now, Sue Gager Dunn was the celebrant of our lives. And she could celebrate anything, any place, anytime, anywhere. Groundhog's Day just passed Sunday. I first thought, my God, if Sue was here, we'd be having a bonfire. I know the closeness she had to Mara, to Katie, to Melinda, and the others who may not be here, that I may not have met yet. I know how close all of these people were to Sue, how much they meant, how much life meant to her. And every life that she touched, and everyone who touched her life, came away with a little bit wider circle of love. Because that's the circle in which Sue Dunn lived, was a circle of love. She emitted that circle of love to everybody who knew her and reached out to touch her and be a part of her life. No, we will not mourn her, but we'll damn well miss her. And yes, Mike, I was pissed off when you called me and said she'd gone first. Because we had an agreement that I was going to go first. She made no bones about the fact that she said, I don't want to put this burden on my family, but I know the history of what I have and what's to come. And I said, honey, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you'll do it your way. And she did. She did it her way. So if there was ever a song that was written, she did it her way, it was Sue that did it her way. So we don't mourn her today, nor will we ever mourn her for a long period of time, but we will miss her forever, as it should be. I can't tell you how grateful I am to have been a part of her family, my wife to be a part, come into this family and be a part of it, my children, my grandchildren, my sister, my departed sister, and my brother-in-law Charles. I remember so well when back in the fall of the year, she called me at work, and it was probably 3 or 4 o'clock. She said, Uncle John, you still have part of that Indian costume you had one time? I said, well, I don't know. She said, why don't you put it on tonight and go over to the farm? So out in the backyard, they were still harvesting corn. Huh? Okay, she said, we need a rain dance. We need a rain dance. So, went over, had a bonfire in the back. Combines were still going, still moving, it was in the evening. And we had a bonfire that lasted on into the night. And we had a rain dance. And it rained for, 36 hours? The next 36 hours? And Charlie called me up and he says, God damn it, Ted's got it. Shut the rain off. I said, Charlie, we don't know how to shut it off. The only thing we can do is get it started. I said, we leave that up to the folks who go to church to turn it off. But I can't tell you how gratified I am to have been a part of her life. And it don't make any difference what part we played in her life. To her, it was a big part, no matter who it was and where it was. She opened people and bonded with people, which proves to me that love is not by blood alone. Blood is through the bonding of love, and sometimes even deeper than the bloodline. But that's because we choose to make it that way. And sometimes, as my wife can tell you, there are periods of times when I think people will say, as I think my sister told her one time, how you kept from shooting this long? And my wife said, well, it's a journey of love, as it was with you and her. It was a journey of love. And that's so important. So I just want to say to all of you today, how grateful we are to have you all part of our lives, and how we are to be bonded with everybody that Sue knew and you heard. I thank you all. I love you. Michael, I love you so much, my nephew. Bless you, my niece. Thank you.
Kevin kind of stole my thunder. I was going to say the very first thing we mentioned Sue Dunn was fun. And we all know that, so I won't go into that anymore. But anyway, she was fun and hospitable. I never went to visit Sue, whether Mike was there or wasn't there. It was not a kissy Mike thing, it was hi Aunt Maggie, so glad you stopped. When they lived in Valley Junction, at the first little house out there, and Sue was never high maintenance. Sue did with what they had. She was happy, and why wouldn't she be? She had money. So I was. But they lived in Valley Junction, and Mike's dad was helping to remodel the house, and he brought up an orange crate and was going to throw it on the truck to get rid of it. Sue said, Charlie, don't throw that on the truck, I'll use it for a coffee table. So she did, turned it over, had 2 things on there, and used it for as long as you were there for the coffee table. I never knew anybody that was so classy, and yet I would say low maintenance. She didn't spend a lot of time at the beauty shop. She didn't spend a lot of time having massages. Sue could brush her hair, put a cute outfit on, look like $1 million. Because Sue was happy and self-assured and comfortable with people. She wasn't glued to your hips when she came back with the family. You were with your brothers, you were playing golf, Sue was with the girls drinking wine, or we were all at the place having a party. So her hospitality, and I think one of the funniest little stories I remember is the first time I went down to Tennessee to visit. Mike was working, so he wasn't there the day Sue picked me up in Nashville. And we went over to the big house. I said, how many rooms do you have here? And she said, well, and I said, what's the count? She goes, 20. And I said, do you have a cleaning woman? Why would I have a cleaning woman? I don't work. So Sue and I sat out on the deck till quite late and had a couple drinks apiece. And Mike came back the next day, and we picked him up at the airport and came in, and that evening we were having dinner, and Sue was loading the dishwasher and had some pans and so forth, and I said, let me dry the pans for you. Where's your dish towels? And she said, in the top drawer there next to the microwave or whatever, and I said, okay. And I opened it up, and there was a white and t-shirt. And I said, Sue, I know that you spent a lot of money to decorate it. You did a lot of it on your own. Beautiful job. And, you know, you can't afford everything. But kitchen towels, you've got to use Mike's t-shirt. So from then on, when Mike and Sue would come back, I always had new kitchen towels for them, or I would go to visit them. That was their gift, and that was our secret. But Sue was always fun, and I always appreciated their hospitality and their genuineness of saying thank you for coming down. It was the guests that were supposed to be thankful. They were always so thankful. So again, I love them and love their whole family. And as John says, we've been very, very fortunate. I'm not being boastful, I'm not bragging, I'm just so very thankful that with all these kids, grandkids and great-grandchildren and cousins by the dozens, even though we don't see you often, when we do, it's like we just went together. And Sue's friends are the same Her family's the same. You may not see it, but there is a bond there that will never be broken because of her. I want to thank all of you for her for being.
So, I was wondering where my t-shirts were. Again, we've got some wonderful friends here from out of town that told me they wanted to share.
I'll either repeat it or I'll skip it, whatever. What kind of time do you have? I don't know. Those who want to learn can always find a teacher. This was one of Sue's favorite quotations. She loved a good quote. When I was in my creative cross-stitch years, she asked me to make a needlework copy for her library. And though Sue was many things to so many people, she was ultimately my finest teacher. We began our friendship in 1959. Yikes. And throughout the years, we celebrated the highlights and the low spots of everyday life. I was so lucky to spend my grade school years with Sue. Girl Scout camping, walking to Flora Pool, joining the drama club. We put on plays. Little Women, many of the cast members are here today. Tom Sawyer and Wizard of Oz, other cast members. At our high school years, we went to different schools, but we always kept in touch. We included new friends, Kathy, and we tried out new adventures, kind of like cookies. Later, we made many trips to Iowa as we went our separate ways, lived in different states. We got together in Iowa, as well as Florida, Minnesota, and Tennessee. There were long phone calls and the exchange of thoughtful letters. She was great for writing letters, wasn't she? When I think of all the good times we shared, many lessons come to mind. She looked for beauty everywhere, the Tennessee sunset from her porch, or the lava fields of Hawaii. Bluebirds gathered at her bird feeder, or a majestic eagle flying over the golf course. She would find delight in simple things. After a rousing game of euchre, she would declare, "What a bunch of fun!" Laugh out loud and often. Now, Kevin, just like I wrote down too, she would repeat what her Uncle Martin would say, "You can't beat fun." Never act your age. And make sure to dance whenever you get the chance. Her extensive work in genealogy taught me to respect and honor those who came before us. And she set a wonderful example of her belief that raising children was the most important work anyone could do. So even though Sue was only 11 months older than I was, she always did everything first. She got married first, she had children first, she had grandchildren first. So I would just follow her lead. She was an intrepid Brownie leader for Katie, a school volunteer for years. And I don't know if you remember this, Kevin, she was a miming clown at your preschool. That was quite enough. She wanted to trick him. And so she dressed up completely as a clown and didn't say a word because she knew he would recognize, his mom's voice. So she just went in there and acted out things, and all the little preschool kids were just like, "Wow, a clown in our room." That was great. She created countless costumes and taught an after-school art program with boundless energy and creativity. She illustrated that becoming a grandparent is a joy and a privilege. She loved to relax, this is one of my stories, in a plastic pool. Okay, you remember this? On hot Iowa afternoons with maybe one or two little boys, Bo, Briar, playing pirates of the Iowa seas, perhaps, while holding a glass of grandma juice, otherwise known as Chardonnay on the rocks, of course. She was often delighted and charmed by Avery singing and dancing her favorite show tunes. Maybe Avery could take over that job of being a song entertainer. She believed that our souls create a lesson plan for what we need to learn in this schoolroom of life, and that the people who come into our lives are both our students and our teachers. She was generous with her time, her kind words, and wonderful hospitality, as Monkey said. Sue and Mike hosted many fantastic dinner parties with gourmet food and clever games, and the girls' trips, those girls, always included themes as well as costumes and props. There was Smoky Mountain High one year, and houseboating with the pirates of the Mississippi. She loved that river. Maybe the most important lesson to me was that of constant gratitude. She was so thankful to her children for their love and support, and she would often say to me, "Katie, Kevin, and Jen are so terrific." Each time we spoke the last few years, she would describe how Mike was navigating the confusing medical world in which they found themselves, lifting her burden, bringing her a measure of peace. She told me, Mike is just wonderful. Thank you, Sue, for all the memories and the lessons.
Thank you, Melinda. That was really, really beautiful. Okay, also from the great city of Dubuque.
O'Brien, Joseph, Susan Gerard Gager Dunn. She liked her name. Her mother, Joan, prayed to Saint Gerard, patron saint of mothers, when she was expecting both Sue and Greg, and gave them Gerard as their middle name. I met Sue when I was 16 in gym class, inseparable from day one. We shared very similar backgrounds, babies of our family, with one older brother. Both raised in families with love and kindness, happy, peaceful homes, where we were always made to feel special and loved. When I observe young girls, like friends together at the mall, they seem to dress alike. Sue and I dressed the same in our elephant-legged jeans. Through high school. And we would agree that to this day, they would be our favorite jeans. Sue has an excellent eye for fashion and found this is our Mississippi River rats. She found our, as seen on TV, 3-in-1 Suzanne Summer ponchos. That we're wearing in her honor today. Sue met a boy, and you and I, from a farm in Carlisle. She went home with him and told me to her surprise that the corn and beans were field corn and soybeans, not sweet corn and green beans. She loved to have, fun. We stood up for each other at our weddings. She had the very important first baby, Katie. She's an excellent planner, taking charge of our euchre and liquor summer get-togethers. trips, lots of fun. Goodness flows through generations. Her kind, loving parents, her brother, Sue, her children, Katie and Kevy, and her beautiful grandchildren. Thank you, Mike. Sue couldn't say enough of how wonderful your support was in her journey, making her feel secure and loved. I feel blessed to have been part of her journey, and Godspeed, Sue.
Oh, my sister. Where do I start? At the beginning, I guess. Well, 2 years old, I don't remember much. But I tell you, my sister just spoiled me, plain and simple. Whenever she was always my go-to person. Whenever I had something to talk about or bother me, she would always put a positive spin on it. And going back, I remember the day that Katie was born. And I lived in Ames, Iowa at the time when I went down there. Katie was such a beautiful little girl, and my sister Sue was just really great. I was an uncle. It was just something I'll never forget. And shortly after, and we had visited them a number of times, and they lived in the Moines, and they moved to Florida. And Kevin was born shortly after. And I remember one day when I was talking to Sue, and Kevin was probably 2 years old. I said to Sue, what would Kevin want for his birthday? Sue says, you know how to weld? And I go, why do you ask that? If you build this kid a cage, please. And I said, well, so I don't know. I'll have to see what I can do. But I remember we were down there, Nancy and I took a trip down there about a year before Nancy and I were married. And they were at Tampa at the time. And she had put down Kevin for a nap. And I noticed she was doing something with the doorknob. She was putting butter on the doorknob. I said, what? I said, well, Kevin tends to get out of bed, and he would like to, he opens the door and escapes. So I just put a little butter on the doorknob. And I said, okay. Now, Kevin, he was a good scamp for sure. But I still got a really good group of friends I've been growing up. Of course, my little sister and her friends, I really didn't, at the time, they were kind of, an annoyance or whatever. As they grew older, I mean, they the girls really hung together. Kathy O'Brien, Melinda Stager, Mary Jo Hayes, and Wayne Sheehy, and Reese Regnitz. They were always Susan really close. And Sue just, she loved the Duke. You could, they say, take Sue out of the Duke, but you can't take the Duke out of Sue. She's well found. And whenever, she was always our social director, getting together with the cousins, Jeannie and Joe and Grant. And she would always, she would get us together. She'd organize things. We'd all meet. And it was just a great time we had over the years. Thanks for her. I know somebody talked about her affinity with the Native Americans. And she was always telling me stories and things. And one day she said to me, she says, I'd really like to make some buckskin vest or some pants. She says, next time you get, could you send me down some buckskin? I said, well, that's what I can do that. So that one year, shot a couple, and that was skinned out. have a hand and sit down. A couple months later, I said, "What did you get?" "Oh," she says, "it was great." She said, "I made it fast." I said, "What thing is this?" There was a hole in that one. I said, "Yeah, that's a bullet hole." She goes, "Oh." I said, "You know, deer hunting isn't catch and release." She goes, "Oh yeah, okay." Well, anyway, she ended up making a pretty nice vest out of it. But she was very, really good support system for me, especially when our parents passed away. They passed away 4 months within each other. And it was without Sue, it would have been much tougher than it really was. She was, besides my wife and children, she was really fun to really hold together. It was just very, thank God she was there, to say the least. But I guess I just couldn't ask for a better sister. And, she'll just always live on in all our memories. And I know my daughters, Sarah, Amy, and Melanie, and my wife Nancy, and my grandson Cash, just about the world of my sister. In fact, I gotta add this one time. I think it was during Christmas time, and my middle daughter Amy had gave them a Christmas gift, and she filled out the card. And she said, "To a nut Sue." She got her letters mixed around for Ann. And Sue saw that, and she just broke out. She just loved it, a nut Sue. And I mean, it was pretty appropriate, you know. And she saw that, and she said, "Oh my God, I love it." And from then on, it was always a nut Sue. You know, she said, "I'm a crazy sister that everybody, in the family had warned me about." So, I'm going to miss her dearly, and like I said, she was the best sister I ever had. And one thing she had always told me too, that she was very appreciative, very lucky that she married into the family she did. And I've got to agree with her, because in the late 70s, Dad and I had gone down to the Dunn farm for pheasant hunting. So that was always But she really, I mean, she always told me stories. And she, Mike and his brothers and sisters, and Chuck and Mary, they're two wonderful people. And on Mary's side, the Tapscotts, she always had stories about good stories about Uncle John and she felt very, very lucky that she was able to have those people in their lives too. That's, in closing, rest in peace, sister, and someday. Thank you.
So for the last week, I've been looking on the internet trying to find the groundhog song. There are hundreds, but I found the one, and we're actually, I'm going to put my phone up to the microphone, and we're going to sing it, and anyone else that knows it can just sing along. It's real short.
1, 2, 3. Charge your phone.
Now you guys know what I'm saying.
Just play on your phones. We didn't rehearse this.
Living in the ground for some dark homes, wonder riding,
Bird, what makes your head so red? I can on one head. Snake, rattlesnake, what makes your teeth so red?
you so wide, I'm sitting in the sun, so
Snake, what makes your teeth so lucky I don't mind.
she was much better than us.
We heard about this on the way here. Sue didn't think it was rehearsed.
Told you should rehearse.
That's right.
So bad.
Grab so long, find my hand. That's it, guys.
Yeah,